Hey everyone, Grant at Red and Blue Collectibles here, and in this video I'm going to show you how I prep and assess high-end Pokemon cards to submit for grading. And in this video we're going to go over 3 cards together, and right after I'm going to send them off. 2 of them are modern cards, modern hits. The first one we'll review together is the Mega Charizard XEX Special Illustration Rare from the set Phantasmal Flames. It came out last year at the end of 2025 and is arguably the most popular and sought after Charizard in all of modern Pokemon. I've already graded a few of these successfully in 10s, and if you get a 10, it's about a $2,500 card. The second card is the Umbreon EX SIR, or Special Illustration Rare, from the set Prismatic Evolutions, which came out at the end of 2024. And it's arguably the most popular Umbreon in all of modern Pokemon. And if we get a 10, this card is worth $6,000 to $7,000. This card is pretty unique because there are not a lot of PSA 10s in the world for it yet, compared to other modern cards. I've already graded a few of these successfully as well. We have a new copy. We're going to look at it together, see what we think. The last card is a real treat. It's a vintage banger, and it comes from the year 2002, from the E-Series era. If you don't know much about the E-Series, or what I mean by that, people also call it the E-Reader era, the E-Series era, and these are the cards that have the barcode on the right hand, or on the left hand and bottom side, and you would swipe them in your Game Boy, and then you could battle the Pokemon. These are extremely rare cards, and this is the Lugia from the set called Aquapolis. Again, it came out in 2002, and the community, the broader community, calls this card the Crystal Lugia. So we have a raw copy, it's pretty clean, and in a PSA 10, this card is worth between $90,000 and $100,000. Is my copy going to PSA 10? Probably not. But is it a clean copy? Yeah, I think so, which is why we're going to look at it and send it off to get graded together. So we're going to look at those 3 cards together. I'm going to share how I assess them, how I look at them, what I'm looking for, how I prep them, etc. After that, I'm just going to show you some special tips and tricks that I use generally when I grade cards that have really helped me over the years. And then number 3, and to finish off this video, I'll just give you my general procedure. When I'm looking for cards and buying cards and people are bringing cards to me, I just have a standard procedure and kind of just a way that I look at cards very quickly to see if it's worth grading. And I still do it at my desk, I still do it at shows, and I'll just share this with you. And it's just super quick. You can use it anywhere to just look at a card and say, is this worth grading? And so there we go. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get into it. So let me show you the supplies you're going to need and what I do. Number 1, you want some good clean sleeves. Number 2, I always have a little microfiber cloth. These things you can get with like your glasses or like a nice camera. You use it to clean the lens. It's the same thing. And this is literally just like a little glasses camera lens cleaner that I bought. But I'm gonna be frank, you can use any natural clean cleaner. Frankly, you can probably even use Windex, although I don't really like that stuff because it's so strong. But like, this is just a little glass cleaner that, you know, is really simple and soft. And then you're gonna want some top loaders. Okay, so here's what I do, and here are the cards we're going to grade today. We're going to review and see what we think. So we have an Aquapolis Lugia, English, in a PSA 10. I'm guessing this is around $100,000. Is this a 10? No, I don't think it's a 10. We have the Mega Charizard XEX from Phantasmal Flames. If you follow my Insta, which is still small, I did grade 1 black label of this and sold it on a public auction house. That was pretty fun. And then we have a Prismatic Evolutions SIR Umbreon. And this is the premier chase card of the Scarlet and Violet era. So let's start with the Lugia. I always put my cards, number 1, in a new sleeve. And I'll usually pull it out like this. Okay, and I hold it by the sleeve. And then what I do is I always clean the card. If you're worried about this, that's fine. I mean, that's you, but I have done this with hundreds of cards, and I have graded many, many cards. So I just get it a little wet, and here's what I do. I hold it by the sleeve, and my first priority is I am just gonna wipe up or down. You don't do this. It's kind of like if you were detailing a car, you just go one way. And what this does is this is just going to help remove any junk, any dirt or grime on the card, but it's also going to remove fingerprints. On these old vintage cards, Sometimes you can have fingerprints and the fingerprints literally look like they're part of the hollow pattern until they wipe away. And I make sure to get the edges and I get the hollow. Looks nice. Then I'll flip it around and I kind of hold that card firm. Let's get some light. Okay. It's a beautiful card. Okay, now what I do is I take it and I flip it. And I think this is kind of an important thing to do, especially on a card that has hollow pattern, right, on edges of the card. Should I wear gloves? I don't know. Some people do. I've never worn gloves. And I found someone who talked about this years ago when I started grading cards, and they said they didn't like wearing gloves because it removes your full senses of touching a card. And maybe you drop the card because you're wearing gloves because you don't have a total accurate feel on the card. So I don't know. I just don't wear gloves. I've never had a problem with it. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to flip it. Right? There we go. Okay, now let's review it. So I'm obviously going to do a quick look at centering. This card for an e-reader, by the way, this takes time getting used to on the e-readers. The Japanese and the English e-readers, they have different centering. This looks really well centered to me. The centering on the back also looks pretty darn great. So now I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to look at the surface, particularly the hollow pattern. So what you want to do is you want to get a very bright light on this because the bright light is going to reveal what the surface actually looks like. Okay, so you can see there are slight scuffs and scratches and stuff. So it looks pretty good. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's like a little, I don't know if it's a scratch. Yeah, it looks like a scratch almost going this way, but it's pretty minor. And then I look at the edges. So the biggest concern with the edges here is right at the top there. Can you see those like two white dots? See those? You can also kind of see that surface, right? Some people will say, hey, you can send this off to someone to clean that out. I just don't really know about that. The reality is with most card cleaners, nothing against them, but I've just never seen anything crazy happen. And some people will be like, hey, I took this gold star from a 6 to a 7. And I'm like, I don't know, with PSA, like you can probably just resubmit it and there's a good chance it would go 6 to 7 or 7 to 6. So who knows? But I've just never gone that route. I've also seen too many horror stories with it firsthand. I've seen cards altered, ink, stuff like that. So the corners here look great, but there's a little bit of whitening. A little bit of whitening. Pretty clean corner. This is a clean copy. We'll see how it does. Stick your top loader. There you go. Okay, let's hit the Megazord. So same thing, I'm going to pull this out and I'm just going to make sure that there are no surface issues, no scuffs, no fingerprints or anything. So take a look at it before. Yeah, it looks great. So now I'm going to just wipe it. Okay, and if you don't believe me on the scratches, okay, there are no scratches on the back after wiping it. Like, there's none. You're like, well, look at the hollow. Yeah, there's none. It looks completely fine. So I'm going to flip it. I'm just going to wipe the bottom real quick. Make sure there are no fingerprints. Especially if you're buying like a binder copy, like this is really common that the card could have fingerprints on it. Grab it on the edges. There you go. So let's take a look. So the surface looks good. I just have no concerns there. Let's check out centering. I think the centering is honestly fantastic. It's really good. Some people will ask, do you actually measure stuff? And my answer is sometime. I'll pull out an actual tape measure and I will measure the like as best I can. I'll measure the sides. But I'm going to say it's pretty rare. Most of the grading I do, I just eyeball it. This centering is great. The edges are fantastic. The corners are fantastic. This card I am actually going to send to Beckett. By the way, what's the PSA 10 value on this? I don't know, 3,000? I don't even know what this guy's at for PSA 10. I've had quite a few copies though. It's a great card. This is a fun one, but I don't think there has been a black label sell on this card yet. I think there's only 2 or 3. I think it's like a pop 2 or 3. How cool would that be to hit a black label? I think that's going to be extremely, I would love to hit a black label of this card, but I think it's going to be extremely difficult. Let's clean it up. Make sure there are no fingerprints. Okay, let's take a look. Sorry that the flashlight isn't the best when looking at it in camera. See if I can get some other footage for you guys. But so looking at this, I think the corners are immaculate. I think the edges are great. Look at the back. Is that a white dot? The centering, I think, is very good, but I think it might be a little left heavy, a little bit. So I'm going to send this guy to Beckett too. I want to see how it does. We'll see. There we go. I'm going to send this guy to PSA. He's to Beckett. So I brought 2 cards out in the sunlight. They're not the same cards that we're grading. These are from Southern Islands, the Japanese set. It's an exclusive promo set. And I like to bring cards out in direct sunlight just for a little bit. Put them right under that light and it will reveal a lot. I can't tell you how many times I have looked at, especially vintage cards, under a bright light, but then when I put it under direct sunlight, I saw things that I never saw before. I saw print lines, I would see slight scratches, minor scratches that were hidden in a very bright hollow pattern, or even some fingerprints. So let me show you what I do here and how I look at these. Okay, so these are the Southern Islands. We got the Merrill and the Slow King, and I am under direct sunlight right now. And I do this. I know you can't really see the card when I'm doing this, but this is what I do. It can reveal print lines and scratches and things like that that you will just never see under an LED light in a dark room. So I'll look at it like this, go all over. These cards look fine. I don't do this for too long, but they're going to be just fine. And under this really bright sunlight too, you can really get a good look at the edges, just because the light is so good. So you can see that whitening down there on that card. But even on the back of a card, you can find dents or scratches. On Japanese cards in particular, the back of the card in this dark blue section and then the bright white, you can miss scratches or even little indents that you would just never see otherwise. See that little kind of like, it almost looks like a slight crease? I think it might be. I can't even tell you, just looking at it flat under an LED light, that's really hard to see. And in the sunlight, it just becomes absolutely obvious. Don't do it for too long, but it gives you such a good read on looking at the surface of the cards. And you can also use it to spot edge wear and corners as well. So these were the 2 videos I showed you that I looked under the sunlight. And I'm going to quickly look at these cards and I'm going to tell you basically what I think they would get. So the first thing I look for when I grade is centering. It's just the very first thing. It's very easy to catch. And centering, it's like the first layer, and it's just the most easy to notice. Like, is it going to stop you from grading a card, yes or no? So looking at this one, I immediately know it's off center. So let's just assume everything else is perfect. In my experience, I immediately know that this card is probably going to get a 9. Assuming everything else is perfect, it's going to get a 9. This centering is just too off center. It's way too heavy. It's called right heavy. See how the left side just has very little? It's a little top heavy, okay? So there's more yellow here and less yellow here, but the main part is this. And it's clearly outside of the 55-45 threshold. Bam, this is a 9. We'll look at the back. Now, this was pretty common on a lot of Japanese cards. The backs ended up being more centered, but you can see that there is more on the top than there is on the bottom. And the sides on the back don't look nearly as off center. And this was very common. So the back is pretty well centered, at least left to right. It's very top heavy, but then the front is very right heavy. It's a 9, right? Assuming everything else is perfect, it's a 9. Then we go, let's look at corners. We instantly see a white dot. Now, let me talk about this. If you see a white dot like that, that is that noticeable. Me personally, I instantly go 9. Okay, so it's not a 10 anymore. We are in 9 territory. Then we keep looking. We got a white dot there, white dot there. This is just some siding. Let's take it out at this point. Let's get a deeper look. Okay, so you can see some white dots there. Now, look at this corner. This is going to be your corners grade, and then you have, that might be your sides or your edges. So just very quickly, I look at this card, and between the combination of these things, I basically work down from a 10. So I go, okay, we're shooting for a 10 always. The centering is too far off. It's a 9 immediately. White dot. Okay, there's only one white dot. It could still be a 9, but oh, now we have a second white dot. Now me personally, I'm in 8 territory. Then I keep going. Oh, we have a bit more. We have a little bit more. It's just a little bit of whitening. Great. The back is off center a little bit. That's just going to lop into the same territory as the front being off center. So this card is probably going to get a 7 or 8. And then you can look up the values and see if it's worth grading or not. And then we looked at the surface. By the way, surface issues are always the hardest to catch, period. And if you're going for a high-end card, a high-end 10, you want to take the time to look at the surface to make sure, this card is what you think it is. You will find a lot of hidden things on the surface. So here's the Merrill. And once again, very common with Japanese, it's right heavy. See all the yellow border here in the very small. I look at this and I go, it's a 9. Instantly. This is probably a 75-25 ratio or around. And PSA has a guideline of 55-45. Flip it over. And look at that. On this card, you can see the centering on the back is actually pretty off. It's very left heavy. So the front and the back actually matched up pretty well. Very heavy over here, very light over here. It's just too off center. It's going to get a 9 pretty much no matter what. And then we'll go into the edges and corners. Whitening, a little bit of whitening. Little bit of, some little white dots. Nothing crazy, right? But these are just little white dots. And those will just add up. If there's one white dot like that, let's just assume that's the only white dot. I would say the card could probably get a 9. Yeah, it's off center and it has one white dot. It's probably a 9, maybe an 8. But with all of these little white spots, I'd say the card is probably going to get a 7. And we looked at the surface. The surface is very clean. Anyway, 7 or 8 for both of these. But that's how I look at these cards. That's how I grade. A few other things I wanted to talk about with grading and how I look at it. Are there like certain rules of thumb or basic guidelines you should always follow when grading? And I think yes and no, but here's the interesting thing about grading that I think a lot of people forget. And it's that it's both a science and an art. What do I mean by that? The science of grading is that there are objective rules we follow. So PSA has outlined a standard, Beckett has outlined a standard, etc., documented on their website that you can read. They say, here's what a 10 is, here's what a 9 is, here's what an 8 is, or they will often say, here's what a 10 isn't, or a 9 isn't, or an 8 isn't, etc. But there's always a bit of ambiguity in there. And I personally agree with this approach. Grading is not just a science, it's an art. How will that pan out in the future as we move forward with what Rudy is at Alpha Investments is doing with Tag that is completely AI? The only grading service that is using all AI to grade cards? I don't know. I don't have a problem with that either. All I know is that I actually appreciate the artistic side of grading. Let me show you what I mean on PSA's website. Okay, guys, we're on PSA's website, and you can go right here, getting started to grading standards. And just read through this. A PSA 10 Gem Mint card is virtually perfect card. I agree with this. I just don't think there is such thing as a perfect card. You know, now we're getting into philosophy a bit, but I don't really think there is a perfect anything, but it's virtually perfect. Attributes include 4 perfectly sharp corners, sharp focus, and full original gloss, must be free of staining. An allowance may be made for a slight printing imperfection if it doesn't impair the overall appeal of the card. The image must be centered on the card within a tolerance not to exceed approximately, notice this, approximately 55 to 45 and 75-25 on reverse. They're straight up saying this, we are not looking for a perfect card. We just think this is the best of the best. It's near there. And this is what I mean when I say this is a near perfect card, and that's the art. Okay, so the science is 55-45. It has to match that approximately. The back centering has to be 75-25 at a max. There, you know, the gloss can't be impaired. The science is there cannot be stains on the cards. It will immediately be docked. That's a hard rule. So there you have it. That is how I grade. I always look at centering first. It's the easiest thing to spot on a card. It's your quick filter. It's your quick view. And, you know, assuming you're shooting for a 10, centering is just, you can just spot it, right? Very fast. Is this card going to be a 10 or not? Then move to the next. Move to edges and corners. Look for white dots. If there's one white dot, maybe on the back, I would just assume it's going to 9. It's the same thing. If the centering's just a bit too off, assume it's going to 9. If there's one decent white dot, assume it's going to 9. If you have both, it could 9, maybe 8. And then the last thing to look at is surface. You want to be careful with surface, especially when you're grading vintage cards. Okay, I recommend taking it out into the sunlight for at least a second, or putting it under a very bright light, not some white LED light that just doesn't work well, and get a very good look at it. You will often find things on the surface on high-end cards that you just never saw. So start from the top, easiest with centering, go to corners and edges, and then go to surface. That's how I do it.